it's Noel O'Donnell with She Lives Inspired, and I'm here today with my first guest, Blanca Beyar, and she is my guru or my spiritual teacher, and I really wanted to bring her on the show to share with us her new book, The Attributes of Mastery. So the first question I have for you is to tell us about yourself. Tell us how you got here, tell us what your mission is, tell us about your insight.
Well, it's a joy to be here, first of all, and I'm so very proud of what you're doing for humanity and that you're sharing your beautiful light with this beautiful show. I love it. Who am I? I'm a messenger. My mission is to share wisdom, healing, and insight of self-wholeness and how we could be purposeful collectively to each other and for the world. Mm-hmm. How we could do that? By healing ourselves first, and then bringing that healing to our purpose, to our life's work, and to our relationships. Mm-hmm. And we do that every day, every moment of every day. Right. My books are beautiful tools for people to begin that process, that journey of healing. Do we need a book to do that? No. We need a willingness and a yearning to find ourselves and to be purposeful and to be whole. But sometimes we could use a little guidance. Mm-hmm. And so I love my books because they're all geared to walk with you, the reader, on that path to self-healing.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my next question, as I'm going to ask many of my guests on the show, is who inspired you, or who has been your mentor since you've been my mentor?
The God Force, first and foremost. I know I had this calling because the God Force came knocking on my door. It did through many challenges. My daughter, she was instrumental. Her passing was a great catalyst for me to begin this work. But I know it was a calling. I was born to do this work, to do this mission. And so God was my biggest mentor. Of course, I love Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, and Louise Hay, and all the beautiful messengers that do this work, that were also called to do this beautiful healing work.
Something else I wanted to ask you was if there were one lesson that you'd want to teach this audience or teach your students, what would it be?
It would be, and I think that that's the greatest message of the book as well, is
show the book. Attributes of Mastery.
That life is about a bag full of surprises. Great experiences, not so great experiences, challenges, successes, but that through it all, that we can persevere. I love that word. Mm-hmm. And if I had to pick one word to describe the book, it's about perseverance. Why? Because we can remember when we have a great moment, it stays with us like a photograph. But when we have a challenge, we lose our equilibrium, we lose our balance, we lose ourselves. Mm-hmm. And many times it's almost impossible to find ourselves. And one of the greatest mysteries of spirituality is that our greatest challenges could be our greatest opportunities to find wholesomeness, yes?
Yeah.
To find our path, to find our purpose. Mm-hmm. And so that would be the greatest invitation that I would present to anyone, to any reader, to any seeker, is find your gifts as you are being challenged, because there's always one.
Right. Well, now that you mention it, between your mentors and between your book, what do you think, in this world of self-development, of self-help, of spirituality, wholeness, wellness, in this field, what do you think distinguishes you as a speaker, as a mentor? What do you think is unique to your message and your delivery?
That's a great question. I think I'm unique.
Yeah, I do too.
And what I mean by that is I don't think not that anyone is, but I think that my teachings are unique of me. You know, I call myself radical because I am. Um, Sometimes we need to go into these hard places, tough love, to say, no, I love you, but we need to heal.
Yes.
And I think that uniqueness, at least for my teachings, comes from my own life. And my life was unique, as even though every teacher has a unique life. You know, Wayne Dyer was an orphanage. You know, Louise Hay, you know, had her own story. You know, we all do. But I think that my unique experiences allow me to teach uniquely.
Right.
And not to cut too much slack.
Yes. Yes.
If we want to heal and we're willing to heal, we're going to do that.
Well, speaking of healing, what do you do? What is your typical day? What are you doing in your daily practice? Are you still teaching students? Are you speaking at public engagements? Are you writing mostly now? Are you doing the same thing every day, or is it new?
Every day lately, since the book was released, it is new. I sort of temporarily hung up my spiritual hat for a little while, although I still see the students, I always will. But I've limited the practice to concentrate on promoting the book and just working on book tours, engagements, because this book really needs to get out into the masses. We're living in a very timely era where we need to understand this great new paradigm and how we could tap into it. We're living in such an exciting time because this world has changed. And I think that people need to know this because people are still programmed and conditioned to respond to the world in the old way.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so I think that the attributes of mastery offer these attributes that are going to really invite people to learn how to tap into this new paradigm.
Right.
You know, and that's really my greatest calling right now. I know that I need to do this, and I know that it's needed, so.
Okay. Well, now that we've entered sort of a new dawn, do you feel that in 2013 you have any specific goals, or do you believe in goals or goal setting? Is that something that you, as a spiritual being, believe in, or do you allow things to manifest, or is it a combination of both?
I think that it's both. I think that we clearly need to set intentions, so I would sort of tweak it to, you know, goals is the same thing, but intentions have a little bit more of that magnetism, a little bit of more empowerment, you know. We clearly need to set them because the universe on its own is not going to decipher anything for us. But what it does do is co-create with us. And so how the universe plays a part in it is, it's not always the way we envision it, and so we shouldn't have expectations. But to go along with the universe and as it co-creates for us, because ultimately it's not always what we want or how we want it, but how it ultimately and optimally is gonna be of service and optimize what we need. As an example, you know what, I've been looking to go on the Oprah show, be on Oprah, right? And a few weeks ago, I taped a show with Mob Wives. And that came as a surprise, that wasn't what I had planned.
Right.
But obviously is what the universe sees as something optimal. We'll see, you know? Right. But do you see that it's, you know, co-creation?
Okay. And I love co-creation. I think that's a huge part of life coaching, a huge part of the field of self-development, and I think it's hard sometimes. I think we get caught up in, you know, believing in fate and things are just destined to be, and we don't know what our role is in it. And as someone who is new to this field, you know, I'm 25. As someone who's of a sort of a younger generation of spiritual thinkers or spiritual seekers, what do you think is a good sort of spiritual practice to start out with? Like, is there something that we should be doing every day? Is there something that is important for us, how did you sort of collect information, or how did you sort of learn how to meditate, or all these things that when people are just starting out, like, where do you even begin?
Mm-hmm. I began because I was hungry, and so I guess someone who's hungry is going to seek. And I really sought every possible book. In my greatest hunger, I read everything. And I devoted myself to anything that was geared towards spiritual development. I meditated, I read books, I would see shows. Um, I was at journal writing, and that to me was very instrumental. I think the combination of meditation and journal writing opens up an enormous window because this is inner dialogue. And in order to really find our spirit, we sort of have to step out of the external. Even though we're moving through it every day, you follow? We need to make time for quality contemplation. And if we don't shut the clutter, the outside clutter, we're never going to really hear that inner voice.
Right.
So we may seek out to find a mentor or mentors that are going to inspire us, but we need to do homework. We need to self-contemplate, to self-explore, and to listen for the guidance that's always really there.
Right. Okay. So now I'm thinking, since you started out kind of hungry, now that you've been, I guess, satiated, I mean, I'm sure you're still evolving, we all are.
Yes, we always are.
But what sort of hats have you worn along the process? Have you gone to school? Have you gone through a training? Like, how have you evolved your spiritual practice and allowed that to be of service to others?
That's a great question. Well, I love that because I'll start with this and then I'll answer your question. But ultimately, I think your greatest preparation, again, is going to be in the inner self. But when I began, I felt this need that I needed to have credentials. How was I going to come out into the world? Spirituality 15 years ago was still sort of, obscure. And so I was afraid that if I didn't have the credentials, people would, label me as this or that.
Right.
And so I earned my certification as a spiritual counselor. I became a doctor of natural health. I earned my mastery as a healer, a Reiki healer. I did a certification in shamanism work. I did a lot. And the more I gained to earn these credentials, the more I realized that I really didn't need that. That what I needed was my daily connection with the God Force and a daily trust in my own spiritual evolution that I was developing. The result of that, where I wear a lot of hats today, I'm an empath, I'm an intuitive, I'm a seer, I'm a shaman, I'm a healer, I'm a teacher, I'm a guru.
Author.
And an author.
Yeah.
But if you comprise all of those titles, I think that that's just being God-godding. And that came to me from my inner dialogue and communion with God. It didn't come from any credentials that I earned. That was just a great way for me to know that I was able to do it anyway. Confidence within myself.
Right. Well, that just made me think.
By the way, I'm not discouraging for people to pursue some kind of academic training or vocational training. But in the spiritual realm, you're going to find your highest self within yourself, and any preparation that a vocation or a teacher can give you is a path, but ultimately you have to walk that. You walk the talk,
And do your daily work.
Without a doubt. That's as important as the food that we take, the breath that we breathe, and every essential requirement that we need to sustain the body. We need to sustain our spirit.